How's it going, you all?
And welcome back to B-Bros.
We are back here to talk about the Obi-Wan Kenobi series.
What were the expectations? What was the result? And what it could have been?
A project dedicated to Obi-Wan Kenobi has been in the works since 2016, where we heard rumors about an anthology movie for the first time.
After the collapse of the anthology movies since the release of Solo and the creation of Disney+, Obi-Wan Kenobi the movie became Obi-Wan Kenobi the series.
This was a clue as to how chaotic the writing and the production will be.
What we expected was the greatest Star Wars story since The Revenge of the Sith, but what we got instead was a mediocre show that was saved by the performances of a few quality actors and iconic characters.
So what was so wrong about the show?
We will first complain about the score of the series. If we watched this series as a part of another franchise, we wouldn't be as disappointed as we are today. But this is Star Wars. The most iconic soundtracks are composed for this franchise. The main theme, Binary Sunset, The Imperial March, Duel of the Fates, Battle of the Heroes.
Not only that the Kenobi series score was nowhere near the quality of those themes, regardless of the fact that it was composed by John Williams, we didn't get to even hear the most iconic themes until the last episode. When there is no soundtrack for battles, entrances, and powerful scenes, a Star Wars project doesn't reach its full potential.
Our second issue is with the new characters introduced in the series, which are poorly written, have terrible dialogues, and aren't a compelling part of the story.
Other than Reva, who had a nice and a complete arc for the first 5 episodes, which was butchered with the 6th episode, none of the new characters are required for the show except for moving the plot forwards, which is weak to begin with. Characters have no importance than being plot points, yet they have minutes dedicated to their character developments, which fail due to poor writing and acting.
Tala, Roken, Wade, Haja are all characters who seem to have an important role, but didn't give the right emotions to us, the audience.
For example, the dialogue between Obi-Wan and Tala in the 5th episode, where Tala tells Obi-Wan when she decided to move away from the Empire. The removal of the scene wouldn't hurt the story in any way, it's just a pointless scene.
Roken refusing to help Obi-Wan and then deciding to help after Obi-Wan somehow convinces him. It just isn't believable.
The story is full of lazy and bad writing, and you can find tons of mistakes and uncompelling moments by watching the episodes. 4th episode especially is filled with them.
Tala enters the computer room and contacts Kenobi. An Imperial officer finds her, she knocks him down, and no one notices. She gets back inside and continues to work after like nothing happened, and there's an Imperial officer lying unconscious without anyone noticing.
We are also frustrated with some of the choices that were made during the creative process. There's so much focus on the new characters that they missed opportunities to show us more of Obi-Wan and Darth Vader and their relationship.
We got one big fight which was great, to be honest. One half fight where Vader just humiliated and terrified Kenobi, and one flashback training scene. We also saw some footage of Order 66.
They were all good, but we could have had way more, just way more, instead of spending more time on useless characters.
There isn't much left, but we have some positives to share. Relationship between Anakin and Obi-Wan was portrayed magnificently, and especially Hayden Christensen's performance was spectacular.
On contrary to our thoughts after seeing the first episodes, there were no plot holes that didn't exist before. There were already some questionable moments in the prequels and the TV shows that slightly contradict some of the wording in the original trilogy. We definitely didn't want more of those.
Reva's character was also nice for us to see the backstory of Inquisitors, and up until the 5th episode, it made sense. However, we aren't convinced with what they did in the 6th episode. We don't think there was a motivation to kill Luke, and her actions seemed forced just so that Owen Lars could trust Ben Kenobi more.
Speaking of Owen, it was very nice to see Owen and Beru again after the Revenge of the Sith. Luke and Leia castings were also on point. We didn't see Luke too much, but he looked like a young Mark Hamill. However, they did a great job with Princess Leia. Her acting and appearance resembled Carrie Fisher's Leia Organa very much. Her relationship with Obi-Wan was also very special. Especially the scenes where Obi-Wan talked about Padme were the most emotional scenes after the final battle between Vader and Kenobi.
The ending of the series, or the first season, led the way to the second season where we saw Qui-Gon Jinn. let's talk about what we expect from Season 2.
We hope you watched the last 4 episodes of the Clone Wars Season 6. That was the 4 final episodes of the series before Disney brought it back for an actual conclusion with Season 7. Those 4 episodes were Yoda's journey of learning to become a Force Ghost with the guidance of Qui-Gon Jinn.
It is some of the highest rated episodes of the show, and takes us through the journey of Yoda, where he faces his fears in Dagobah, meets Darth Bane on Moraband, and ends his journey meeting the Shaman of the Wills on the Force planet.
Obi-Wan will also go through a similar process with Qui-Gon Jinn in the 2nd season of the show, as it was teased on the finale of Season 1.
Qui-Gon is the Jedi that learned to become a Force Ghost, and is the first Jedi in centuries to achieve that status. The ability was lost to the Jedi, which proves the corruption of the Jedi Order, especially after the Golden Age of the Republic.
We expect to see a lot of parallels between Yoda and Obi-Wan's journey, as they will be guided by the same person. It would be incredible to see Obi-Wan facing his greatest fears in a planet rich with the Force but different from Dagobah, like Ilum or Tython. We can see him face a Sith on a temple like Exegol, Moraband or Malachor, and also see him face the Shaman of the Wills, which we would want to see Obi-Wan in the final episode of the season.
There would be quite a lot of challenges, action and traveling in the 2nd season if they stay loyal to the Clone Wars.
This may be repeating the 1st season, but we think there's a potential to see Darth Vader here again. And not only in flashbacks, as we think there would be plenty of Clone Wars flashbacks in this journey.
Also, many of Obi-Wan's fears must include Anakin, which would make him see illusions of him that creates a what-if-like scenario in the season. We think Vader can confront Kenobi one more time, but this time not physically.
In the last 4 episodes of Season 6 of the Clone Wars, Chancellor Palpatine senses a disturbance in the Force. He senses what Yoda is trying to accomplish and decides to intervene. We see a what-if-like scenario inside Yoda's and Palpatine's mind where Anakin kills Dooku and Yoda fights Darth Sidious. It foreshadows the events of the future.
Something along the same lines could easily happen with Vader and Obi-Wan. Now that Vader recently met Obi-Wan, he would obsess over him.
This could easily make his senses go ballistic and he can sense Obi-Wan through the Force. We can also see a foreshadowing scenario where we see more conflict inside Vader and we can potentially see Luke Skywalker. Vader never finds out about having a son until the original trilogy, but in the Vector crossovers of the comics, Knights of the Old Republic, Dark Times, Rebellion and Legacy, he actually sees a vision of Luke.
These are in Legends, of course, but it is a golden opportunity to show us these visions on camera.
There is an insane amount of potential for Season 2, but we aren't sure how much of this we will get to see. We saw some of what we expected and wanted in Season 1, but it was the tip of the iceberg. We are scared the 2nd season will be as disappointing as the 1st, which brings us to what we would have wanted to see.
We would have combined the best of both worlds and focused primarily on Anakin/Darth Vader and Obi-Wan. We would have used the ideas we have for Season 2 and made Obi-Wan's journey primarily on him learning to become a Force Ghost after death.
We would have added Vader to the plot by him sensing Kenobi and intervening, as we just mentioned. Obi-Wan would have learned Vader was Anakin. This would have allowed us to see many flashbacks of the two in the Clone Wars as Obi-Wan sees how he failed him. From Vader's perspective, he would have seen flashbacks which he hated Obi-Wan.
The two's flashbacks would become one when they physically confronted each other in a massive final and their rematch of the century.
We would have made the story take place around 5 years after the events of Revenge of the Sith, where the wound is still fresh. We would have also liked them to be apart for over 10 years where they face off in A New Hope.
The series would be over 6 episodes, 1 hour each, to make it feel like a very long movie separated to 6, just like the series Chernobyl was. Honestly, it is disappointing to see Disney trying to include unnecessary plots and characters to a series like Obi-Wan Kenobi, where giving the fans Obi-Wan and Anakin is more than enough. It is very natural to bring in new characters to this franchise. They did it in the sequels, they are doing it in The Mandalorian, and they will do it in Andor. However, Obi-Wan really isn't that show.
Unfortunately, people running the show in Lucasfilm have different opinions and constantly make us disappointed movie after movie, series after series. If not for Dave Filoni, this franchise would have bled to death, and thanks to him, there are still things we are looking forward to. But on Kathleen Kennedy's side, we constantly get disappointed, losing hope every time, wishing for more, and imagining what it could have been.